Hey, this is Andrew Jones. You watch On Deck with Tyler.
Of course, the Covid-19 hitting the Atlanta Braves. You got 5 players coming with it. Headliner obviously going to be Freddie Freeman. Tyler, just jump right in with you. What you got? How you feel about it? Then what are you hearing, if anything, about this?
You know, if you listen to the Behind the Braves podcast, it's with Greg McMichael, and Jeff Rancour was actually on it, and that's what I listen to kind of get the behind the scenes of what's going on with the Braves.
Yeah.
So what they were talking about, this is before all of this happened, was that everybody's going to play. That's the attitude in the clubhouse, and I think overall that is still the attitude. Excluding Felix Hernandez, which with him, it's a 1-year deal, a little bit less to lose. You know, why risk getting an injury or getting COVID at the same time? I
don't think as much COVID as it is just the injury in general for him.
For the pay, too. You know,
Correct.
He's made 50 times what he's going to make this year, easily in his career. So why risk it this season, with the exception of the other players, Eric Young, a couple others. Nobody else has opted out.
No, just Eric Young Sr., the first base coach, and then Felix Hernandez.
Yeah. But everybody else seems to be feeling better. Freddie Freeman today reported that he's feeling stronger than he did yesterday, so that's always a good note. I think he'll be back before the season even gets in here.
You know, we talked before the show. In theory, once you've had the COVID, getting it again, they don't know, but you
have
may have
antibodies built up.
Right. So if you look at, say, for the Braves, with having Freddie Freeman, your star, you know, Acuna aside, your star player, your heart and soul, now that he's got it and the possibility of him not being able to have it, and say a Juan Soto in Washington, if he got it in, say, October 30th, it does have an advantage, much like people talk about Clemson football having 37 players, that herd immunity coming up. And you look at the Braves, 5 players on, I don't even think they've been exposed to all 60 players that are on the roster. And we don't know who's been tested out of those 60 either.
So as far as the people opting out, you don't think that's a trend that's going to be?
I'll tell you, I was worried about Freddie after this. But his wife actually, he's not active on social media.
Right.
So I went and checked out what his wife said.
Yeah.
What she said is they have taken every precaution. They've been out of the house minimally, stuff like that. And Freddie still got it.
Yeah.
Right? So her advice is basically live your life. So what that tells me, and it's reading into it, but what that tells me is Freddie's going to live his life and
play baseball.
So I think he'll be back before the season happens. He'll obviously have less time to get ready, but I think he's still at home. He's still preparing. These guys have all what they need at home for the most part.
And they've been doing that since March anyway.
So he's probably pretty used to it at this point.
And, having Eric Young Sr. opt out, you kind of get, because you look at the demographic that it has affected the most, and he fits the over 60 African American, and that could be where COVID, as much as it is for a Freddie Freeman, is not a lethal virus. But we know, older folks and certain demographics, it does affect more. So I can get where Eric Young may want to, back out. And, for the Braves, you look at their coaching staff, which is they don't get the credit it should. But Brian Snicker has a great coaching staff.
Yeah.
There with Walt Weiss and all the experience
Ron Washington.
And Ron Washington, obviously, over at, coaching at third base. They could put a Walt Weiss on the first base, going from the bench to first base coach. And you're really not missing nothing. I liked EY, his enthusiasm. He always was excited. It's fun having a coach that has that much, energy. And so that might be hard to replace. But in a 60-game season, you got to have energy right out the gate because it's a pennant race.
Mm-hmm. The 60-game season, I think there's a mixed reaction all over baseball.
Yeah.
And as there should be. I've done a few videos on this because it's hard to cover everything that's happened with the rule changes and with the the back and forth about the money situation around baseball. And I have a mixed reaction about it, just within myself. So all of baseball, I did a video on could any more Braves opt out, the other day. And I had people commenting, I'm opting out because I'm mad about this 60-game season, right? Which I understand. But there's other people that are like, well, maybe this will be better for baseball. It's a shorter season.
In a sense, you might be able to grab fans that aren't the diehard baseball fans. Mm-hmm. Say a fan, even with Austin, who was a huge baseball fan, kind of fell out of it because it, for a certain
takes a lot out of you.
Takes too long.
Yeah, and when you, especially somebody,
stretches out for
a guy that works, 10, 12 hours, you got your family, you got your kids, it's harder to follow along.
Yeah.
And so you say, I just watched the playoffs. Well, in a 60-game season,
Every game matters.
every game matters. So you might be able to grab some of them fans that aren't the diehards that watch every game for 162
Yeah.
and maybe try to steal some of those.
Yeah, I'm a diehard.
Right.
But I have a group of friends that none of them watch baseball. Reason being, they're like, man, it takes too long. Some of the games wind up being until 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
I can't get invested in any single game.
Yeah. I mean, I agree 100%. I'm the
Yeah.
same. I like watching all the games. I know Alex over in the bullpen, he watches every game. And that's, we talk about it, but majority of my fans, my friends, mainly Austin, he's like most of them, he just don't watch every ball game.
We're casuals, man.
Yeah, now he'll
Check
flip
it on your phone the
Yeah.
next day, right?
Yeah.
If it's a good game in the eighth
Yeah.
inning, he might flip it on. He'll
Yeah.
text me he's watching the game or
I
whatever.
might watch Braves. I watch Braves Phillies a lot.
Yeah, if you know it's
I
gonna be
don't-
good.
I don't-
Hey, if you're just getting on Facebook right now and you see us on here, make sure you share it, like it, leave us a comment about what you think. Hey, what do you think about the 60-game season? For the Braves, you look at 60 games, it's going to be a dogfight because not only you got the 40 in the National League East with the defending champion Nationals, you got
Yeah, the
Bryce
American
Harper.
League East.
That American League East is a beast whenever you're looking at New York and Tampa, what they have. And, of course, Boston's always a wild card with, losing Mookie Betts and some of their guys, but they're still going to have a heck of a hand going this season.
Yeah, the American League is going to be tough, but in theory, that would prepare you. On paper, it will be tough. In theory, that'll prepare you for what you're going to see in the postseason, right?
Right.
Last year, the Braves absolutely smoked the Nationals. It felt like in a regular season.
Yeah.
They got to the postseason, lost to the Cardinals, and then the Nationals won a World Series.
Yeah.
Right?
And that easily could have been the Braves in a sense if you look at what the Braves did in the regular
Yeah.
season going in.
So
Judson Kelly says because of the shorter season, I plan on watching every game I can. I
Hey.
guess a lot of fans probably don't have that.
And that's a
mindset.
lot like college football,
Yeah.
right? You got a set number of games. It's very little. It's on Saturday.
Right.
You plan your week around it, right?
Absolutely.
Now, when the game comes on, it's going to be that sense of urgency, the same sense of the NFL, the college football, anything like that. You're going to have that sense of urgency. So I think it will attract more fans to the game, at least definitely watching every game.
Yeah, and, the rule changes, the extra innings rule, when you got the guy on second base to start, that adds to that. You got to have it. You got, because the team more likely going to score at least one run. So if you're the home team, you're going to be down in the bottom of the 10th inning. That's big.
Unless you have a shutdown closer.
Unless you have a shutdown closer, which the Braves bullpen in recent has been kind of a hiccup. But you look at some of the additions.
I think they have the best bullpen in the National League.
And having Will Smith, and he's one of the 5 with the COVID-19, so he should be fine by the time the season rolls around. But you can add a closer at Will Smith to come in for the middle relief, basically. That shows the depth of this Braves bullpen. And if somebody can't get the job done, you can flip them around from setup and all that.
That's what I was about to say. What the Braves have that a lot of other teams don't have in any capacity, any part of their lineup, is options. You have options batting, you have options pitching, anywhere. Freddie Freeman, if he's out, you got Yonder Alonso to follow him up, and a couple other guys you can put over there. Austin Riley played first. Charlie Culberson's played first before. You have a lot of good options. That's a thing that a lot of other teams do not have.
Yeah.
So I think that is going to be important for the bullpen, and I think the bullpen is really going to be important, at least for the first couple of weeks, because these starters are not going to just jump in and pitch through 6 innings necessarily. They might pitch 50, 60 pitches, and wherever that winds up is where they're going to stop, and then
Yeah.
the bullpen's going to come in.
Or your boy Anthony White says, "What's going on, fellas? The Braves got to get Freddie Freeman back ASAP. Him having COVID is a bad deal." Anthony White up in Tennessee, boy.
That's our boy in Tennessee. Yeah, I mean, you got the 14 days, I believe, for Freddie, and the season coming in, and probably, a little under 20 days. So you hoping he should be back and in the lineup for, at least early on in the season. Hopefully he don't miss any time. And getting back on that bullpen, the 3 batter minimum that they're going to implement this year, for the Braves to have guys with closer experience, so you don't have a lefty that's a left-handed specialist.
Yeah.
Back when we had Eric O'Flaherty and people that were more left-handed specialists, now you got to be able to get lefties and righties out. And having people with closer experience is that much better. Will Smith especially, he's not going to come in and face a lefty. Now by rule, he has to stay in there and might have to face 3 righties. So for the Braves to have that experience is just, unbelievable. And, AA, the GM, has done a great job building this. And I've always felt this with Dale Murphy. The reason he's not in the Hall of Fame is because he didn't play in New York or LA. If he wore a Mets uniform, he'd be a Hall of Famer. And I feel that way about our management now, is if this was going on up in, anywhere in New York, Boston, LA, that Brian Snicker would be one of the best managers in the game, front office be one of the best front offices in the game.
I don't think Double A gets enough credit, and I give him a lot of credit for what we've built over the past couple of years. John Sherholtz built what we had in the 90s.
Right.
Alex Anthopoulos took what John Coppolella had and has brought in all these different pieces, Josh Donaldson being one of them, but also some of the coaching staff. You bring in Ron Washington. You bring all these guys in. And, I mean, look at the deals this guy has signed some of these studs to. Acuna is on a deal that, for any superstar, it's a shocker. Ozzie Albies is making around $7-8 million.
That's a sweetheart deal. Ozzie got a sweetheart deal for the Braves.
Yeah. And it's because they know there's a chance to win here, right? You'll get your money if you perform, right? So they did that. And Alex Anthopoulos is just one. There has not been one move that I look at and go, what are you doing, right? Because in any other team, you look at something they do and you're like, what are they doing?
Well, the Braves with Frank Rear, some of the deals that he was making.
Right? But with Alex Anthopoulos, there's always at least something that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It may not work out, but it makes sense. Dallas Keuchel was a little bit of a letdown considering the postseason last year, but it made sense.
Jose
right?
Hernandez.
Yeah.
When that came in, it was an experiment. Did it work for Atlanta? No. Well, he did have some good hits. He did come in as clutch a couple of times. It wasn't worth it in the long run, but it was worth the shot because if you do hit, it's big game. Josh Donaldson last year was like that. That could have.
That was a little bit of a risk. He was coming back from injury and
a lot
things
of
like
money.
that. Yeah, a lot of money put in, but he performed. He did very well.
Got us
Felix Hernandez, even though he's not going to play this year, but it really wasn't that high risk because it's $1 million.
Yeah.
With a guy that has a ton of experience. To be honest with you, I would have paid him $1 million just to sit in there with the younger guys and say, hey, why don't you try this, right?
Yeah.
So just having people like that around, I always think is good. So Double A, to me, has all the credit in the world.
And we're still built for.
Judge want to know, do the teams get to pick who's going to start on second
So
in extra innings?
the way that works is the person, whoever made the last out, is going to be on second. So if Freddie Freeman strikes out, if he grounds out, even if I think it's whoever was at bat last. So
Right.
even if they throw a runner out at
Go last
second, that's
out.
the third out. Freddie's going to be on second, right? So that's how that's going to work. But good question.
Which I think that's going to open up the door. I think I spoke about it a little bit. If the last out was made by, say, a pinch hitter who's out of the game now, you have to get a pitcher because you're not going to go get a bench player to run the bases.
Yeah, if you're up to bat, you wouldn't get your at bat next at bat if a runner was.
I think
thrown out
you
at second.
would.
That would make me mad if it was.
I'm thinking if you're hitting, say, and somebody gets caught stealing, then Freeman should come up to bat. But
You
how
would
do you,
think, yeah.
But then how do you decide whoever made the last out, saying the out before that maybe,
that runner.
Yeah, it
would-
probably
or
would.
the runner would just go to second. Which, I mean, this is going to open the door for things down the road.
It's going to be a lot of questions asked
But
getting into this season.
as a manager, you're going to have to decide. Say you have a guy on the bench, or last when we had Hamilton, you have a Hamilton on the bench. Do you put him out there to pinch run to start extra innings and take a chance on losing a bench player, or do you get, last year Freed seemed to run the bases a lot.
Yeah.
Do you put a Freed out, Max Freed on the bases? So that's where the managing is going to have to come in because the universal DH takes managing out of the National League to a pretty good extent.
I think the toughest job on field this year is going to be the manager because there's a lot of unknown, right? Just before even any of the coronavirus things happen, you have the 3-batter minimum. That changes the game for the manager in
a whole lot.
10 different ways. Now you have the extra inning rule. You have a DH. You have all this and that. I think there's going to be so many things because with the Braves, again, you have options. Brian Snitker's got to organize all these things. He's got to either pick a DH that's the DH, or he's going to have 4 or 5 guys, whoever's bat's hot.
Platoon kind of deal.
Yeah. I think honestly, the way I think this season's going to go is whoever's hot is going to be given the opportunity.
And you have, because you only got 60 games.
Yeah.
And when you have a division and you have a Mets with their pitching staff, they have a good enough pitching staff. Over 162 games, the Mets might not be able to keep up. But in a 60 game, they could keep up and win the division. Then obviously with the Nationals and their pitching staff.
Well, the Braves, Greg McMichael said this on that podcast the other day. The Braves are built for a marathon, right? The 162 marathon. But they're also built for streaks. Something that intrigued me, I didn't really think about this. Ozzie Albies and Ender Inciarte both start out really slow because of the cold weather.
Yeah.
Now you're starting in the dog days of summer, and there's no excuse, right?
Yeah.
So what does that change with other teams? What does that change for the Braves? I really think that the Braves could either perform really well, but they have to do it early. Any team that wants to win has to do it early.
Yeah, you got to come out the gate on fire. I mean, just about on fire, especially, like I said, in the East, because you got so much talent, so much, the American League East is so much hitting. They got so much firepower coming out of New York with the Yankees especially. And, you do feel good with the Marlins, Orioles
Yeah.
and the
Well, even the Mets,
And the
arguably,
Mets in a way,
once
but-
you get past the starting pitcher, for the most part.
But the
you're-
Blue Jays can
yeah.
bite you. I don't think the Blue Jays got the talent to compete for the American leagues.
No, but they can bite you.
They can bite you. They got enough fight with Bichette, Guerrero. They got some firepower coming off their, in their dugout, so they could affect what's going on, and it's going to affect
Yeah.
the interleague series are going to be the biggest to me because you know what you get with the, National League against National League, but that interleague is going to be big. The Braves historically aren't that good of an interleague team. Statistically, we've struggled against the American League, East, West, Central, whatever. So this year, you got to be able to win. I think whoever wins the divisions across baseball have a winning record in the interleague games.
They got to.
I mean, you only got 60 games, and you look at 20. Unless you're going 40-0 against your
Yeah.
division, you're going to have a winning record in the interleague.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the Braves lately? Have you seen the pictures that are trending lately?
I've seen a couple of them out there on the
saw
field.
Acuna.
Yeah, I've seen
They
Acuna
are
with his
huge.
dreads. Yeah.
Have you seen them? They've been working out because they
That's what they
they've
do.
had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So Ozzy Albies is a big dude right now.
And I saw Acuna's hair.
Julia
Yeah.
Thompson says special guest appearance by Mr. Potato Head. Yeah, what's up with that, Rick? Where the Potato
I
Head?
thought he was talking about me. I was about to get offended.
No, that's Abby, Alex's daughter. She
Oh.
left it. I said, let it stay.
Nice.
We love some Abby. Alex and them got a new addition on the way.
Oh yeah.
We was worried it might be coming today.
Yeah.
So if Alex jumps out of here, y'all know why.
Yeah. Thanks, Julia, for holding on.
Yeah, thanks. Putting it on there for Kudzu Sports. Yeah, that's so baseball should be exciting. Who do you think's gonna? If you had to think World Series right now, it's 60-game series, who would you put on the spot? Who you got?
I mean, the power rankings came out. The Braves were in the top 5. I don't ever like betting against the Braves because
Right.
they always put up a fight and they battle. The Dodgers are going to be really good. They added Mookie Betts, and the Yankees, I think, are built to have a streak 60 games.
Yeah, they're definitely a sprint team.
But with a 60-game season, it's very hard to predict. I do think the best teams are going to rise to the top, but under these circumstances, I think it's really hard to predict. But I think those 3 teams, Yankees, Dodgers, and Braves, would be mine.
What you think the Braves pitching is going to be good enough to actually win playoff games?
I think Soroka, Freed, Fulte on a good day. Hopefully not
Yeah.
what we saw at the end of last season. I do think they could be good. And with that bullpen, the bullpen is going to be so important this year,
Yeah.
especially early on.
Yeah.
I do think with that bullpen, they can fight with anybody. If they make it to the postseason, anything can
Oh, they're
happen.
dangerous.
I mean, we know they got the bat, so I mean,
Yeah,
there's-
the
there's-
offense is
it's-
there.
Yeah, everybody knows what it is. We
I think
all
the Braves
watched it.
pitching is what's going to take them.
Yeah.
You know, the
I do
offense-
too.
AJ Minter.
AJ.
AJ.
When you're looking at the Braves starting pitching wise, with a 60 game, you don't have to save people. You don't have to count innings, so you can let some of these guys. And the Braves is young. It's a young
Yeah.
save a Cole Hamels.
It
Obviously.
has been more exciting to watch them
Yeah.
since the wave of
About
of
2
youth
years
has
ago,
come
it really.
through, yeah.
Yeah.
But as a Braves fan, and I think we can all agree on this, the last time we saw a live game was not that good.
I turned it off. I didn't watch
It was not good.
Since we
at
gave
all.
up 10 runs in the first
It was
inning,
not good.
it's easy to say, well, get that taste out of your mouth. But here for the Braves, it would a 60 game, of course, the huge asterisk that would go beside it, but just to win a championship,
I don't think too much of an asterisk goes by it. Reason being, I've talked to a lot of people about this because they're like, this season shouldn't even happen, right? I would disagree because every team knows what they're getting into. Every team is on the same exact timeline that the Braves are if they were to win it, or any team that wins it. I think whoever wins it is a legitimate champion.
I think it's a better model. I mean, why are we, I know there's money involved, but
Well,
162 games, man.
For me, I'm a little bit of a purist. I don't like the game to be touched too much.
Yeah.
right.
The DH, don't really like it, but I don't want to talk about it. The 162, I think just for the record books,
Yeah.
needs to be left alone. But
Yeah, I guess.
that's me.
Yeah, I mean, But
I-
record book wise, it is hard to touch. You look at 1961 when Maris broke Babe Ruth, the single season record. The asterisk that went by that because it was like 3 games extra
Yeah.
compared to what Babe Ruth played. So right there, that's obviously what a difference it can make.
Well, like 1994, right? Tony Gwynn was batting 394 to end the season. What if he had broken 400?
Yeah,
King Griffey Jr. had 40 home runs at the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Who knows what would have happened there? There's a lot of things that could have happened that didn't because it ended at the time it did.
Right.
So I wonder what could happen this year. Could Acuna go, 2020 and make it interesting? Could things happen like that really make you scratch your head and say, man, what could have been?
yeah.
Yeah.